So, like Paul has said, my name's Clayton Edsall from Oakdale, California. This horse here is a 6-year-old, just turned 6. He's been shown. I've showed him, and Zane Davis showed him in the beginning of his career. And so he's qualified for the NRCHA World Show back in February, or in Texas in February. And so he's got one more show in the Hackamore, and then we're gonna put him in a 2-rein, and we'll 2-rein him for a little bit, and then he'll be straight up in the bridle. And so I get a lot of questions about transitioning from the snaffle, the hackamore, into the 2-rein and the bridle. And so I thought it might be a good topic for tonight. Even though I'm going to have a year to ride him in the 2-rein and to be able to split my reins or put my fingers between my reins and help him, when I'm at home, I try to cheat these reins very little, if at all. And usually, rather than cheat my reins or slip a rein or do something like that, I'm just gonna slow down and try to fix it up and see about getting him to truly work off of the bridle, off my outside rein, because I feel like the more we cheat them and the more we try to help them, we're going to continue to do that until they truly are hooked to the cow ourselves or understand how to get off the outside bridle rein. And so there's quite a few different things I do when trying to accomplish it. But my biggest goal is to try and get them to where I can operate this hind end with my inside leg. So say I'm starting a horse and I just have a snaffle or a hackamore or a halter on him, whatever it might be. When I ask him to get soft and to bend in this head and neck and through his hip, I have the luxury of 2 reins. But what I'm really trying to accomplish is for him to allow me to control this hind end with my inside leg. And since he's green and he doesn't quite understand that, then I'm able to help him with my direct rein or my inside rein. So a lot of times what I see happen is we get in a hurry and we get those horses to wanting to do more, and we start overriding them with our inside rein, and we forget about being able to control them with our legs. And so the whole time I'm riding my horses in the snaffle or the hackamore or the bridle, I'm really wanting to be able to create this natural bend in my horse by getting control of the hind end and getting him to where he wants to ride with me. Then as I progress to the bridle, then it becomes my inside leg and my outside rein. So as I'm going along here, like I'm going to warm him up. I've already loped him around, but I'm gonna just make sure that I can trot, walk, and then lope perfect circles as I go along. And so if I have this horse where I can control this hind end, and I can get him to ride with me, you can probably see that when he gets correct, he has to round his own back. And so then, in turn, when he rounds this back, he can't be upset in his head and neck. So as I ride him around and I get this hind end to soften, and it softens correctly. As it softens, he picks his back up. Then as he picks his back up, he gets soft in the head and neck. So that's really what I want to accomplish. And I had a gentleman come up to me in the parking lot, and he was asking about a couple horses that he had, and he said, how do you get your horses to get round and to get soft and to ride, where you want them to go round? He asked if I checked them up. I said, well, it's not that I won't check one up, but I don't want to do it before I can get this horse to round his own back and for me to take control of his hind quarters. And so because of that, I very seldom do check a horse up. Because if I'm going to fight with them, or they're going to fight with me in their head and neck or in their chin or poll or wherever it might be, that fight starts right here in this hind end. And you'll see horses as they go along, and you'll see them even here today, those ones that are climbing and they're on that bridle. If you watch those hind feet, there's brace in those hind feet, and they're climbing and they're pushing instead of landing soft. So if I feel like I have a conflict with this horse in this head and neck, I want to try to address as much as I can right here in this hindquarters. And so I spend a lot of time getting this horse to where I can just ride him right on around my leg. And then when he does that, he gets himself round, and he allows me to start placing his feet. So then when his feet are light and his back is round, the resistance just isn't there. So again, when I'm riding a young horse and I feel like I'm having to do a lot up here, and I'm having to soften this chin and soften this hip and the front end. I hear that a lot. Oh, this horse isn't very clean in the front end. Well, it's more than likely because this hind end is stiff and it's in his way, and it won't allow this front end to work. So as I go along, and especially in a hackamore, we see it show up a lot in a hackamore, and it's because in that snaffle we can bend them here and override them, and we can get them to where they're really working off the corners of that mouth, and we get them really flexible and really bendable. But if we forget about this hind end, say when we try to make this turn on a cow and this hind end is stuck in the way, it won't allow that front end to come through. And the reason it shows up in a hackamore, I think we all know why it shows up in a hackamore, because we just pretty much have a halter on them at that point. But it's a different pull, and we can't break them the same way. So again, when I feel a horse is upset in their face or their neck or wherever it might be, I really try to work on these hindquarters and getting them to pick that back up themselves. So I'm going to lope this horse around a little bit, and another question I get is so when I start loping them circles, when I use my inside leg, how does it not kick that horse into the other lead, or how does it keep him from falling out of lead behind? And the reason for me is because when I have him reaching properly, this hind leg steps way up underneath of him. So instead of it being his hind end moving over, I like to call it softening that hind end. And very seldom will I try to kick on that hind end. Instead, what I'll do is I'll put my leg on him, and if I don't get a response from the calf of my leg, then I'll dig deeper with my leg. But I'll see a lot of people pick up that rein and they'll kick them horses over. And that causes the hind end to move, but it doesn't cause it to soften. So when this horse softens instead of steps out behind, that's when you get the hip to reaching up underneath you. And then when the hip reaches, the back rounds and the head and the neck get soft. So I'm going to lope him around a little bit, and I'm going to try and show you how I use my inside leg. And as this horse gets more and more used to it, I'm using my inside leg less and less. In the beginning and where he's at, I thought he would be a good horse to bring because I'm still having to manipulate him quite a bit with my leg. So I don't think he's going to be perfect loping around here, and he might give me some opportunities to show you what I'm going to do if he gets fouled up or he doesn't quite go where I want to go. So again, right here, I'm going to pick him up and I'm going to lope a little smaller circle. And so as I pick him up right here, and I ask him to soften in here off this inside leg, you'll see when he gets right, when he finds that circle, when he finds that perfect circle, because you'll see the expression of him change. And he's not hitting on it all the way around here. He's kind of looking around a little bit. But as I go along and I apply my inside leg a little bit and my outside rein to help him, you'll see him soften and kind of get with me in this circle. And so as I go around, he's kind of warming up into it now. As I go around here and he gets settled in, I'm just not going to. I'm gonna kind of put my inside leg on him, and if he wants to ignore this leg, I might just break him down to this trot, and I might just add my leg on him. And I might say, hey, let's get soft here in these hind quarters. And so see right now he's moving those hind quarters around, but he's not getting soft and driving. There he's gotten soft and he's driving. I hope you guys can see the difference there. Because when he's like here, when he's just kind of trotting around behind, he's not really getting soft. There to me, he's getting soft, and that means I can walk this horse in a really small circle, a very perfect circle, or as close to it as I can get. So I'll just do it. I'll just do it on the other side here, Just try to remind him. So when this hip is driving and stepping up underneath of him, in turn, he's driving forward in this front end. And so, to me, that's what he needs for this turnaround. When he gets there, I can just ask him, use your front end. Don't go any farther. Right here, I'm going to ask for this circle. Then when he gets with me, I ask him, use your front end. Don't go any farther. And his feet are light. So now I'm going to put him back in this circle and see if he'll get with me a little sooner. And he's doing a lot of good things. I just want to dig in there pretty deep. Now, if I was trying to make a rope horse and I didn't want his head down or a barrel horse or whatever it might be, I wouldn't have to dig so deep. But where I want him to really lope these circles as pretty as I can get him and as framed up, I can dig deeper on him and really ask him to get bridled up. There, more like that. There. I like that pretty good. So now as I go around, I'm gonna lope some straight lines up and down the pin. As I turn the corner over here, I'm gonna just see if I can get him to fit this circle. And you see he didn't fit it right there, but he found it. It's all right. But if he got too lost and he kind of started to ignore me, then I'm just going to stop him and I'm just going to say, hey, let's soften this hip up. Let's just ease around here. It's not a big deal. Then I'll go this other way. There we go. The funny thing is when I got this horse, he wanted to fall out of lead, and he did fall out of lead, and it kept him from placing in some shows, and so the first thing that happens a lot of times when a horse falls out of lead, we try to hold him in lead with our outside leg. And so as soon as you'd put your outside leg on him, he knew to keep that hip up underneath of him, but it wasn't let down, and there was just too much pressure here. So instead of him keeping driving, he was getting stiff behind. And then anytime that pressure was released with that outside leg, it just had to go someplace. And so trying to get him to reach farther and deeper into this stride and let down in his back and his head and his neck and his hip, hopefully we've kind of helped him travel a little bit better. That way, when he reaches up through here, he spends more time on the ground. He gets to be a smoother traveler. And he has a prettier look to him. Then, as he starts to ride more and more with me, then it becomes less about how much bridle I have on him or a chain curb strap or what's the mouthpiece, you know. It becomes more about me being able to control both sides of this horse with my feet. So then as I have the left side working decent for me and the right side, then hopefully when I start to put them together, they have have meaning too. And so then hopefully he feels comfortable riding up through this bridle and picking his back up. And like I say, not all you people want your horse's head this low. I don't mind him having his head this low because it's not a manufactured, checked up look. He feels comfortable picking his head up, putting his head down, softening. Where the head gets too low becomes in the cow work and the roping and all that stuff when they're afraid to pick their head up. So I don't want him afraid to pick his head up. I want him comfortable being with me and rounding in his body and being soft in the